if you're very passionate about something, there's no way to stop you. Because one of the things I felt the most was this. Lots of people back in Argentina were telling me that I was not tall enough and I was not big enough to play professional rugby. I was gonna prove them wrong. But in most cases, you would get turned down and you would quit. You would go do something else. And maybe that was what you loved the most. Why would someone else dictate what's good or bad, or what can or what you can't do? I think it's up to us to show people that just focus 100% on it, and I'm pretty damn sure that you can make it.
Our guest today is a two-time Argentinian rugby champion who currently plays for the Sarlet rugby team. Off the pitch, he's the global team lead at Unicorn Incubator Accelerator, as well as two of its startups, Formation.gg and Challenger X. He's a student of engineering, management, economics, and is self-taught in nutrition and fitness. Welcome to the show, Lucas Caneda.
Hey, Mike, thank you for having me at your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. A pleasure having you. And I want everybody to know they can connect with you on social media, your website. I'm going to make that all clickable. I'll also let them know how they can learn more about Unicorn, Formation.gg, as well as Challenger X. Thank you ready to rock and roll, brother?
Of course.
So I kept your bio a little bit shorter. I mean, you have an impressive career in rugby and also now in business. You're taking that competitive edge that you learned off the pitch, right? And you're taking it into business with you and with your partner. So I think it's a really cool story. What I want to do to kind of set it up is bring us back to 2013. I mean, you won your first championship, right? And 1 year later, then you suffer that major knee injury. Many thought that would be career ending. At least that's what people were telling you. You maybe didn't have that mentality, but that's what you were told. Then you moved to France, which I think is interesting. You continue your career as a professional rugby player there. You win another championship. Please share that incredible comeback story.
Yes, I'd love to. So back in 2013, I was recruited, let's say, to a local regional team. We went to play sevens, so it's actually not the regular game, but it's 7 against 7, and we were champions after I don't know how long. So it was pretty exciting. It was the first time as a senior that I was called for that team, so I was pretty good, right? An excellent feeling. We had a great championship. We had some fun. We played some good rugby, and from there on, with my club, we were doing pretty good. We had some good objectives, and we started scaling a little bit. And in 2014, we actually qualified to play the first division. And in one moment in time, beginning of one game, I broke my knee. So it was quite,
Was it on impact, or was it like one of those freak things where you just pivoted, your knee buckled up on you?
It's hard to say, but actually, I was tackling a guy, and I remember I tackled and I rolled, and I was on the floor, and I was trying to stand up, and my knee would just go everywhere. I remember calling the doctor and saying, "Hey, strap it up so I can keep going."
Yeah.
And he would just say, "No, not this time, right?" I mean, something that was not good.
You're a different animal, man. We have American football here. I'm in Buffalo, New York, so we have the Buffalo Bills, and it's a crazy group of fans out here. I have a total respect. Now, I've never played rugby, mainly because if I took one hit, I'd probably be done forever. I'm just not built like that, and I have a respect for what you guys do because even watching American football and I see guys take hits and they kind of bounce back up and they get the ball in the next play and they do it again. I think that's incredible. But these guys are, full shoulder pads, helmets, and you guys are literally going at it with the rugby polo on and shorts and some spikes on your feet and let's go, right? It's like a bunch of warriors out there. And I think it's incredible. What's even more incredible is that happened to you. Right. And you see this in all kinds of sports. It doesn't always have to be rugby or football, but, physical sports, soccer, someone has a injury and many deem it as a career ending injury. Like, hey, man, you'll probably never play again. It's the last thing you wanted to hear, and it's the last thing you believed. And what I think is cool, as I shared, is you went on to win another championship, a year later. What was the mindset and thought process of going to France? Did you feel like the opportunity was there, or maybe it's just a fresh start for you? What was the reasoning for that?
The reason was because, frankly, my dream was to become a professional player. And back in Argentina, there was no such thing. All of the teams are amateur. I just wanted to live through that experience of at least one season where my only concern was to play rugby. And so my mindset was already fixed at having to go to some other country, right? And the opportunity came to go to France, and I took it. That's what I wanted. That was what I was working for. And so, yeah, I took it. I remember my agent calling me like 10 a.m. in the morning and saying, okay, your flight is tonight. It's like, okay, that's quick. So I packed up one bag.
Let me take a shower and hop on a flight, and I'll see you in a couple hours.
And that's
How long does it actually take to travel from Argentina to France? I don't really know that area.
It's quite long. I mean, you've got at least one long flight for like 13 hours.
So it's a significant change. We're not talking about, just a couple hours down the road. This is a massive.
Oh, no.
Did you know anybody there? Did you have any connections?
Not really.
No. So you just kind of took your agent at his word, and you knew that this opportunity to play pro ball was there, maybe a higher level, and that's what you wanted. So you didn't care where. You could play it on the moon. You would have said, sign me up to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as long as that's what I had in my head, right? That's what my objective, and that's why I did not hesitate. I just took the opportunity. I was waiting for it, right?
Right. Well, you were prepared. I mean, that's what they always say, right? Like when you're prepared for the opportunity, that's what luck is, right? When preparation meets opportunity. So you weren't lucky that you got to play in France. I mean, you were preparing for it for years. Something I learned in preparing for this interview is that rugby is called the school of life. And I think that's pretty cool, right? The things you learn on the field. So some of life's lessons, can you share some of those that you've personally learned from playing the game of rugby?
Yeah, sure. Because I do think those lessons translate into business, but also into life. So ever since I was a kid, I was being told that rugby is for friends, for instance. So everything turns around about having those relationships, having friends. Rugby, of course, it's a game, and you need to learn, to play, to train. But the idea about it at the core is to actually make good friends that last for a lifetime.
I would say that's a community, right? I mean, that's in business. We are the collection of who we're hanging out with. You hear that, the 5 people you're closest to, that's your common denominator. And it's true, your mentality, your mindset, but also lifelong friendships. I mean, I know I played a couple sports growing up, baseball, played some tennis. And, I still have friends that whenever I connect with, we always go back and talk about some of the fun times we had playing together, or we still pick it up. I still like to play tennis. So it's just it's a fun thing. It's a competitive thing with your buddies. I'm a musician. I have a lot of great memories playing with my friends instead of playing sports, playing music.
Same
community is huge.
And usually if you go out for a drink, you will probably call one of those friends, right?
Right. I feel like rugby, you guys know how to have a good time. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they speak about it a little bit badly, right? But why wouldn't you enjoy after a game, right? I do think it's part of it. It's part of that friendship
building. It's the camaraderie. Yeah,
exactly.
It's you and your buddies going out for a drink. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't know what else could be connected to it because I haven't studied it closely, but I just know it seems to me like the guys, like when you're in Little League baseball, you go out for ice cream after the game. Well, when you're growing up and you're playing rugby or soccer or softball with the guys for a beer league, of course you're going to go out for a drink and build the friendships and the camaraderie. And I mean, it's like anything in life. You could have fun, but you're responsible and stuff like that. So
for sure.
Now, one of the big things in sports, you see it in players, you see it in coaching, is leadership, right? What do you've been around a lot of different coaches, leaders, and you're one yourself now in business. What do you feel are some quality traits that make a great leader? How would you define that?
again, I think that I've learned a lot through rugby or through sports in general. So one of the types of leadership that I appreciate the most, and I usually try to live with, is to lead with example. Do you think that it's a lot stronger when you show people what they should be doing instead of just telling them? Because I'm certain that you've been through that situation when you tell someone to do something and they don't believe it, they don't trust it, and
it's
they
like
don't
the sales manager who comes in and they're like, all right, guys, we need this many KPIs and we need this many units sold, and this is how you do your sales presentation. And then you're like, oh, cool, where'd you come from? And they're like, oh, this guy came from distribution. And you're like, that means he wasn't even customer facing. Oh, it's okay though, he's really good with people. All right, let's give him how many times has he sold a product in his life? Never. He just came from Harvard Business School, so he's your sales manager. It's like, what are you talking about here? So, not to be disrespectful to that person, but yeah, there's a built-in camaraderie and built-in respect for someone who kind of came up through the ranks. I remember when I sold insurance, my branch manager, the guy who was a big part of hiring me for about 4 or 5 years prior to that moment, I believe I was his first hire as well. That moment was big for both of us, but I look back, I knew when he was interviewing me in conversation that he did it first for 5 years. So I knew that when I was going to ask him a question, he's been there, done that. He's not going to give me the textbook answer. He's going to give me the on-field example. So I think that's great. I mean, the way to summarize it is actions speak louder than words. A leader could yell at you from the back, but a real leader leads from the front by example.
By doing it. And then, it's more the pull effect, right? Mm-hmm. Come with me. Let's do this together.
And some players have leadership qualities and others don't. It doesn't necessarily mean the guys, not everybody's rah-rah, right? I think of, I'm a big New York Yankees fan. I live in the state of New York. And, there's like key players that I remember growing up, and some of them just had quality traits of a leader. And others were just like they relied on them to get their bat,
That's actually a good thing, Mike, because what I usually say is that you don't need 100 captains on a team. You need soldiers and you need a couple captains, right? Because you need people to do the hard work. You need people to guide them, and it's the same on every business, and it just translates to everything. Yeah,
it's like too many chefs in the kitchen. If everybody's trying to coach up Lucas, right? And you got 4 different people. That happens in business for sure. There's 4 different departments. This manager says to do it this way. This guy says, no, and the way we do it is this way. So to really have maybe 1 or 2 leaders collectively come up with the game plan, and then everybody, and then you have your team captains, and then you got just like the guys who are going to just be there for everybody. And everybody has an important role as does business, right?
Exactly. That's certain. I mean, everyone's important, and you need to make that very clear to every people participating, because they need to know that what they are doing, it's actually bringing the whole team to a whole different level. But they need to be doing their job and to excel at what they do, because that's the way that it's going to be adding value to what they're doing. And then you've got, again, a couple of captains, a couple of leaders that just put and see the trees for the forest, so they can actually see the big picture and say, okay, this is how we build it up. This is what everyone's doing, and let's push into the same direction.
Yeah, you need everybody to be the best version of themselves, Mike should not be trying to be Lucas, and Lucas not the next guy, right? It's be the best version of your individual self. That's a great point with team leadership and kind of the infrastructure of a strong team, right? So thinking about leadership, we talked about coaching. Is that something you see for yourself down the road? Maybe the front office of a team even?
Maybe. I don't know if it might be on the pitch or off the pitch, or maybe both. But I do like it. I do enjoy very much building up teams, creating a good work atmosphere where everyone can work together, have common objectives, and I'm a very strong believer in motivation. And I do think that everyone's different, and that as a good leader, you need to understand each person individually in order to do what it takes to motivate them to their max, right? Because
everybody's different.
Exactly. And sometimes someone needs a push, and sometimes someone needs a more calm approach, and you need to be able to know your team good enough to leverage what everyone can do best in order to succeed. Yeah, what do you think on that end, Mike? I mean,
well, it's not a one size fits all, right? I mean, so if a coach comes in and they're coaching Lucas up, like you said, and they're saying the same three things to every single player, they're not really finding an individual solution. Same thing in business. Again, there's a lot of parallels. I love talking sports analogies in business. I do it all the time. But yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you want the coach to really be more intricate. It's relationships in general. Like with a spouse, you wouldn't just every situation that comes up, you don't say the same pull string answer. You'd be on the curb in a couple of days of that relationship. So every situation's unique, and a really good leader, I feel, can analyze it and evaluate it quickly, and get back some direction right away. And that's the best coaches make those. Here goes another analogy: in-game decisions, right? Game time. Like you come in with your playbook, things change on the field. You got to adapt. Is there halftime? Do you guys have halftime?
Yeah.
So then at halftime, you make your adjustments. You come out in the second half, and you don't do things exactly the same. Then you try to clean up your mistakes and try to capitalize on the things you did well.
Yeah, and on that point, Mike, I think it's also, I mean, the people going on the pitch are the players. So the coaches, they can do a very, very good work. They are crucial to success. But in one moment in time, when the players are on the pitch, it's up to them to decide. So what you can do best as a coach is to give them the tools so they can decide for themselves and motivate them to take good decisions. And once that's done, I mean, you cannot do much more. You can help a little bit on specifics, but once the game is launched, you cannot micromanage everyone. You're not playing PlayStation with a joystick and controlling everyone. And I think that's the same on business. Again, we come back to the analogies, but you cannot control what everyone's doing, and it's also a bad thing to just micromanage.
It's tough on coaches. I mean, again, I look at the Yankees here. They had some crazy runs. It was a 14, 15 game run towards the end of the season. Then they fell off a cliff. Then they fought hard enough to get into the wild card. And then in the wild card, they played flat. And everybody wants Boone out of New York. And I'm not even trying to pick a side on it. I'm just saying whether or not that's the right decision to keep him or get rid of the manager. I mean, the players, aside from Stanton, who hit the green monster a couple times and was robbed of a couple game-changing home runs, aside from him, the team was pretty flat. And so, I mean, Boone isn't, again, joystick. He's not playing PlayStation in the dugout. His team has to perform. And so that's tough on a coach because you go as far as your team. So sometimes the coach picks the players up and they perform because of what he's doing. And other times, like, the manager or the coach is going to look great because of the collection of players, But you definitely know when there's a bad coach and bad leadership, really good players can be unmotivated and then they underperform. So you see that happen quite a bit.
I think you see it a lot on the teams that are regular basis. Let's say they don't have stars and they just smash everyone. And that's pretty much, I mean, there's a group that's being built up. And that group is outperforming everyone else because they are playing as a team and everyone's doing what they need to do. And they're just at a 120% of their capacities. And that's probably part the team, but also a big part on the coaching side.
Oh, yeah. That says a lot about the coaching. I'll take that team over the high marquee, big name players that are 100%. On kind of a poorly coached, mismanaged team or someone who's just playing for their contract or whatever.
Yeah.
Here's
100%.
what I'd love to do before we hit the break, and we got about another 10, 15 minutes together. I'd love to hear this from take as much time as you want to explain this. We got people tuning in on YouTube. We got people listening to this on Apple and Spotify and everywhere you can tune into podcasts. Walk us through, bring us into the moment, your favorite moment that something just popped in your head right now as I'm saying this, in your rugby career. You could smell the grass. You could feel the moment. You can feel the sweat dripping off your face. You just busted your ass for X amount of minutes. what's that feeling? Like, what's the best moment that when you think about your career and you want to play right now, and you get that itch, you got that smirk on your face thinking of it? What's that moment?
Yeah. Because I can feel my arms stitching up a little bit. Because there's probably not just one moment, but I do have a couple of memories. What happens when you set yourself a big objective, something that everyone thinks that it cannot be reached, but you as a team, you have that challenge. And I remember when we were back in Argentina in 2013, we set ourselves, we were in the second division, and we knew we had 4 tournaments to play. So 2 in 2013 and 2 in 2014 to actually get to the highest division.
You had a mountain to climb.
Yeah. So we started low. We kept growing. We made it to the first 2. Then we had the third. That was the crucial part. Because if we got to the 4th, that means we did it. And we struggled. Of course, we were the small team. And we made it to... I think you call it the wild card, right? So we played a game against another team that we were tied up to see who would go into the next stage. And I remember that game. It was just amazing because we had 500 people coming by with. All of our club was there vouching for the team, and I remember that we were losing the game, but that feeling inside you that game, you will never lose it. No matter what happened, you knew you had won. And that confidence, we knew that what we were doing was good. We knew that we have prepared good enough to make that happen. And we did.
Did you win? Did you guys end up pulling
We won, and we ended up going into the next stage. That the club had not been there for like I think 7 or 8 years, so it was pretty damn big. And I just remember that feeling of everyone, cheering up at the end of the game when we've won and just celebrating. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the best feeling that we had.
Yeah. Now, were you the away team in that moment? So you had people traveling to come and follow?
No, we were actually playing at neutral stadium.
It was like a neutral stadium. Cool. So it was pretty crazy. There's fans from both sides just packing into the place. Yeah. How many people fit into an average rugby arena?
It depends. On local rugby like that, you can have between around 500. That game, I think there were like 2,000 people watching. It was like 4 times the amount. It was just huge, right?
That's cool.
Flags everywhere. There were people, with fireworks. Everything was, there. They actually, because the neutral stadium was like 1,500 meters away from our home club, and they walked all the way, all together in a mass to get there. Yeah, it was just huge. And everyone was a part of the game on a different side. We were 23 on the pitch. There were 500 people outside. And everyone felt like that they've won the game, not just the people inside. And we felt it too. We inside, we felt that we all won. And we could have not done it without them.
Yeah. Incredible. I want to talk a little bit more rugby, a little bit more business. We are going to take a quick 60-second timeout. We will be right back with Lucas Caneda. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, we're back in action with Lucas. Guys, you can connect with him again on social media. All of that is clickable in the show notes. And we're talking about his championships, leadership, and obviously we're talking about the game of rugby. But now he's taken what he's learned, is it called On the Pitch, right? On the Pitch. And he's taken that and applied it to business. And he said he might even consider coaching down the road or a front office. I think that's something we can all, I want everybody to internalize that who's listening and think about, hey, if you're a player in business, maybe you're in sales or whatever department you're in, and you can take what you're learning, maybe it's in a sport or it's in your current position, and apply it to the next steps or the next part of your journey, right? And there's an instrumental person that kind of helped you transition into that accelerator incubator space, Dom Einhorn, is that right?
Yeah, he's the CEO and the founder.
Yeah, talk about Dom a little bit.
Well, he's just insane in a good way, let's say. I mean,
yeah,
the guy flies, and
he's a firecracker just of energy, right?
And he goes so quick. I mean, he just won't stop. And it was actually thanks to him that I came here, because when I met him, I just knew that I wanted to work with that guy.
Was he connected to rugby at all, or did he recruit you to say, "Hey, I think what you're doing here can apply to our business"? How did that come about?
It went both ways, actually. I mean, he's actually the president of the club, of the rugby club.
Oh, the rugby club. Okay.
Yeah, because we took in the rugby club as one of the startups that we incubate and accelerate under Unicorn. So we call it internally the 118-year-old startup. Because it had every single problem that every startup has, that we've slowly fixed up during the last 18 months. That's how we met, and then our relationship started thanks to rugby, and then we went into business together.
Okay, that's cool. So he knows what you're all about pretty well. He's seen you in action, like right there on the pitch. And tell us more about Challenger X. What's that all about?
That's a company we funded together a couple of months ago. Actually, a company going very quickly. So the company will go public in London by November.
What's it all about? Is it products, services? What do you guys got up your sleeve?
Yeah, it's a service that we are offering to small clubs all around the world. No matter what sport they are playing and no matter what country they are in. What we are doing is that we are bringing what we did with Salo Rugby in terms of branding, in terms of sponsorships, in terms of image, monetization, and we've platformized what we've done because we know the pinpoints that we suffered, and we are bringing it to every amateur, semi-professional club around the world.
So you're doing it already, like we talked about leadership. I mean, you're collectively taking things you've learned and figuring, hey, we can apply this and better the game of rugby, what goes on in clubs. You guys both have a great understanding of, from the equipment guy to the head coach to the GM, what needs to happen. And so you're kind of going around and helping clubs out with Challenger X.
Yeah, and that Mike is very interesting because our credibility comes from there, right? We've done it. We've suffered the same that they are doing, and I think that's what really connects with people these days. When someone is or was in the same situation as you were and managed to improve, because we've actually showed that what we've done on the marketing, on the image branding side, it's actually having the effects on the pitch today, because we managed to triple, quadruple our budget for this year. We managed to bring in a bigger staff, more players, and we built a team that's actually doing very good. We are 4-0 today. Hopefully, we'll keep on this route. And
doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, of course. And when you are able to show that what you've done on one side actually translates into the other one, that's the home run. That's where people really understand, okay, these guys have done it on both sides, and it actually works. Why wouldn't I do the same with them?
Well, I'll tell you what, winning fixes a lot of things. In this case, I'm not saying anything was broken, but, when you have an organization that's winning, the head coach is going to be along. You got players attracted to your city now. They want to come and play for you, right? The GM is able to recruit better athletes coming up through the system. And in your situation, you have a business that you're saying, hey, we know this game. I've played this game. We've managed this game. We've done it all inside the front office, on the pitch. And then they're like, okay, great. So you got experience. Yeah, but we're winning. We know how to win. Look, this is what we've done. Our case studies, we're champions, right? Okay, here's my money. Where do I sign?
And it's all about that winning mentality. I think we've not been through that, but I do love that teaching from rugby and that winning mentality that always pushes you further. That's something I usually talk about, and how that winning mentality helped me out through different stages. I always want a little bit more. I want to be better. I want to do more things. I want to win. And that mentality actually pushes you forward and makes you take the risk and also make the efforts that you need, because nothing comes for free. You need to work to get it, right? We like to say that you need to roll up your sleeves and get your hands to work. There's no other way. And the same happens on and off the pitch.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's when it comes too easy, if someone's spoon-fed something, it's much more likely that they're going to lose it. They didn't learn the hard work that goes into gaining that thing, whether, it's a skill, trait, mentality. It could be gone and lost. But when you work hard for it, you certainly understand it and appreciate it on a whole different level. So much I'd love to talk to you about regarding that. I'd like to learn more about the game of rugby, so maybe we can have a conversation separate to this interview, because I'd love to know more about the scoring and the game. And
sure,
something you just talked about too is, having that kind of inspiration that you want more. I see it with Tom Brady. Love or hate Tom Brady, but he wins a championship, and the next, day, this time it looks like he finally celebrated a little bit. But I'll tell you, once it's time to go back to work, he's the first one back in again. He's even there, like if they say show up on Wednesday, he's there on Monday and Tuesday with the janitor, while they're cleaning, getting ready for the facility ready for practice, he's already there. So you have that itch, that edge, right? Did you learn that from someone? Where did you get that from, would you say?
I think it's just the resilience that comes from, in my case, playing rugby. I think that's one of the things that taught me this sport is that. So
you learned that mentality from the fighting, I could call it fighting,
but fighting,
the on the pitch, the grind. It's just like, look,
struggle.
There's no other way. If you don't compete at that level, you're not going to win. So it's like it's taught you the things you got to do to prepare your body, what's up here, right? Your mind for the game and everything that goes into it. You're like, okay, well, now I know how to do that. So I'm going to do that when it comes time to prepare for a meeting or do this. Or if Dom asks me to do X, Y, Z, I'm going to attack it with the same mentality
that's it.
I would in the middle of a game here to hit a game-winning shot or take on 5 guys that are trying to end your career and you're trying to run it in. Are they end zones? How do you score? Is it running it into the end zone? I know you can run it in or kick it, right?
You can. It's not just running in. You need to actually push the ball to the floor once you're in.
So you run in and then you have to you tap it. Okay. Now, what if you lose control of the ball and regain control of the ball?
You lose it.
Even if you recover your own, we call it a fumble in football, is it still considered a fumble or a different term?
If you drop it and the ball goes forward, then you lose it. If it goes backwards, that's fine. Because one of the other difference with football is that you need to go forward, but you need to pass the ball backwards.
Okay, so it's always backward lateral type pitching. What do you know of Christian Wade? Does that name ring a bell? Do you know Christian Wade? He played in the England circuit.
Yeah.
He's actually a Buffalo Bill. Pretty cool story.
I don't know the story, the whole story, to be honest.
Yeah, Christian Wade played, and I feel bad I don't know the name of the team, but I believe like one of the higher level teams in England, and he got recruited into American football.
And then he went to play football. Yeah.
He's injured right now, so he's not on like the active roster. But there's something where you have to be on like the practice squad when you come over internationally for a year or something like that. But I'll tell you, in his preseason action last summer, when he got a chance to play, I think it was his first handoff. He took like 45 yards for a touchdown, and the way he ran that ball, his rugby in him, nobody was going to get him. It was even if you had laid a hand on him. He's not a real big guy, but he's built. You know what I mean? Like he's just real muscular, and he's just like a little pinball. He's like a pinball. Like you just shoot him out of the. That's what he looks like. He's like a little pinball going down the field, but he's going to get in the end zone. So I was hoping to see him in some action, but really cool story there. That just goes to show that you work hard right on the pitch, and opportunities come not only in business but in other sports. Hey, it can even translate into American football. Pretty cool story.
Yeah, very good.
Here's how I'd like to wrap this up. I like to put a bow on this, and thank you again so much for.
It was a pleasure, Mike.
Yeah, your insight in the game. There's no other way to learn it but to talk to someone like you who's played it for so long. So I want you to kind of imagine this right now. So you're the author and protagonist in your own life story. So you get to write the ending. So, God willing, you have a long, prosperous life. You continue on doing great things. You look back on it and you're reflecting on it, and you get to define your legacy. What would that be?
Oof, that's a good one. So I do like very much whenever I have the chance to coach kids when they are playing rugby. And so I think I would love to do that more often in one point in time. I don't know when, but I would like to just share my experience with them, no matter how big or long it was, on the pitch. And I also want to be able to teach or to work with people around me on the business side, to achieve great things together, but also to translate a little bit of what people gave me as a person. Because I think this might be taken the wrong way, but I think that we are losing some of that on the younger generations. I mean, I do, when it comes to respect and work-wise and effort, I do think we are losing it a little bit, and I would really love to. I mean, some of the things that I've been taught when I was a kid and when I was growing up, just try and help people out to say that there's nothing yet that you can't achieve. If you have that mindset and you really want it, go get it. If you're very passionate about something, there's no way to stop you. Because one of the things I felt the most was this. Lots of people back in Argentina were telling me that I was not tall enough and I was not big enough to play professional rugby. And in my case, that turned me on. That made me...
inspired you.
Yeah. I was going to prove them wrong, right? But in most cases, you would get turned down and you would quit. You would go do something else. And maybe that was what you loved the most. Why would someone else dictate what's good or bad, or what can or what you can't do? I think it's up to us to, through, I don't know if it's example the good word, but to show people that just focus 100% on it, and I'm pretty damn sure that you can make it.
Yeah, I mean, to summarize that, I think I love it, man. I love your story. I love what you stand behind, and I definitely see it. I mean, you're talking about it as this is what you want. I heard it kind of in your language. I'd want to do this. I want to do that. You are doing it. I mean, you're already doing it in business. You've done it in rugby. You've done it on the pitch. You're an example, right? You talked about leading by example. You're doing that, and continue to do what you're doing, and make sure you stop and realize, hey, this is pretty cool. What I have I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it, because you're in that right now. But I do agree. I mean, you're talking about the generational difference, the different mentality, and I don't want to say like, put everyone into one bucket statement, because that's not fair to anybody. But I do agree where you're talking about inspiring people to know, hey, look, I was told I was too short, I wasn't big enough, whatever, maybe I wasn't strong enough. And that's the reason why I thrived, because if you tell me I can't do it, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to find out any damn way I can do it. And that's what a alpha male competitor champion is going to do. Size, it's the fight, it's the fight in the dog, not the size of the dog, right? So, yeah, you are literally doing that. So I want you to realize that, and it's just special to be able to say, man, I did it on the field. I'm doing it in business. But yeah, you could coach people. You can be up on stage sharing this. I mean, the reason I have you on the show is for that reason. Thanks. Yeah, we want to talk about business and all the cool stuff you're doing, but it's really that story. Yeah. Because my mission on the show is to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. And when I saw your story, what do you think I said? He's perfect for the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Right? You are inspiring people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. And it doesn't, nobody can tell you, I mean, they could certainly tell you can't do it, but only you get to dictate what kind of effort you put into something. Doesn't mean that everybody's guaranteed to win a championship every time they play the game, but you get to say whether or not you want to fight for it. Yeah. Nobody else can tell you to play or not play in the game of life, and you're doing it, man, at a high level. So thank you again for being here. We finally got this. You're welcome. Anyone who's tuning in doesn't know this, but you and I, we tried this like 2 or 3 times. Indeed. We had Wi-Fi issues. You're in a new studio. There's a microphone deal going on. But I'll tell you what, perseverance is something that we talked about today, and you and I were not going down easily. So
they're not going to stop us.
Nope. This was fun. You got a friend here in the States. Thank you. Congrats on an amazing career. Congrats on the businesses doing well. I'll keep an eye on it. Challenger X, Unicorn, everything you're doing, man. Sounds like a lot of fun. And please, if you're ever in the States, or at least in the Northeast, somewhere we can connect, I'd love to take you out. We'll have a good old rugby celebration, if you will. And we'll keep it at that.
That's perfect, Mike. Thank you so much for the opportunity. That's stoked.
All right, man.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedUp. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedUp. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.